Although many have speculated that Catullus 50 suggests a homoerotic love or an absurd fascination for poetry on Catullus's part, it is simply a poem about friendship. Catullus also makes a statement by using vocabulary not normally associated with male-to-male relationships in Roman culture. Both of these ideas represent the rebellious spirit of the Neoteric poets, Catullus in particular, against the Roman social code. Catullus begins by discussing the previous day spent with Licinius Calvus, a fellow Roman poet. They played around with poetry and wrote verses in different meters on their waxed tablets, but when Catullus had to leave, he described how inflamed he was after he left. He extends this feeling and describes how food could not help his sorrow, how he could not sleep, and how he wished to be with Calvus again. He stated that he has created this poem to show his pain to Calvus. Finally, Catullus ends the poem by beseeching Calvus, warning him to be humble, especially to avoid the wrath of the goddess Nemesis. In analyzing this poem, one can first regard how Catullus structures the piece. He moves from the setting to the detail of action, to the feeling of love, to his helplessness, and finally to his last message to Calvus by the use of molasses, when one word begins the first two hendecasyllabic feet with long syllables. Obviously, the start of the poem begins with hesterno, yesterday, in line 1, setting the time. Next, ludebat, each was playing, in line 5. Not only is a molasses to provide a transition into the primary action, but the singular verb also requires that Catullus and Calvus become one subject, uterque, each, line 4. This already suggests a definite closeness of friendship. After Catullus leaves, he immediately offers the next molasses transition word, incensus, having been inflamed, line 8. This suggests that the passion for friendship he holds for Calvus, but Catullus's interesting word choices will be discussed later. The next molasses is in line 12, the passive verb versarer, used in the middle sense, translated as I was tossing and turning. The passive verb indicates that the poem now transitions into a state of helplessness, uncontrollable. Finally, the poem ends in a direct address to Calvus, underscored by the molasses oramus, we beg, line 12. This word not only provides a transition to end the poem, but also brings around the sense of togetherness between Catullus and Calvus through the plural first person. Now that the poem's structure gave a glimpse of Catullus's mindset going through this poem, word choice now dictates the true meaning of the poem. Many believe that this poem alludes to a potential homosexual attachment between Catullus and Calvus. This particular relationship is emphasized through word choice like lucimus in line 2, which can be translated as we were fooling around, a suggestive translation according to Mark Williams' essay Catullus 50 in the Language of Friendship. Also, Catullus even wishes that Calvus might see my pain, perspiceres meum dolorem, line 17. This statement feels like that of a lonely lover's. But Mr. Williams also suggests that in his essay that the words inflamed by your charm, tuo lepore incensus, line 7 and 8, can attest to Catullus's passion, maybe even an obsession with Calvus's poetry itself. He quotes, "The poet is speaking metaphorically. He has been moved as deeply and as completely as a lover is, not by some physical consideration, but by Calvus's wit and subtlety." But if this were true, why did Catullus warn his friend in the final lines about the goddess of retribution, and address Calvus as Ocele, literally little eye, but translated as dearest one in line 19? And why was he so restless without Calvus? The answer is clear. Catullus is simply expressing his love for Licinius as a brotherly friend, not a homosexual love nor a fascination for just his poetry. Where scholars find these suggestive theories is through Catullus's unconventional word choice, with words like otiose, leisure, line 1, jucunde, pleasant friend, line 16, and incensus, inflamed, line 8. Catullus, on top of making a loving gesture to his friend, is also speaking out against the Roman cultural sense that friendships should be emotionless and purely productive economically. In this poem, Catullus protests against the Roman norm by highlighting the emotional ups and downs of a dear relationship enhanced by a mutual love for poetry, displaying the feeling of joy at times with a friend and the dreadful emptiness without. But on a personal level, this poem is truly dedicated to his friend Licinius Calvus. Yesterday, Licinius, we played at leisure much on my wax tablets, as it had been agreed that we are to be self-indulgent. Each of us writing little verses was playing now in this meter, now in that meter, returning shared things through jest and wine. And from there I left inflamed by your charm, Licinius, and wits, so that food was not helping miserable me, and sleep was not covering my little eyes with rest, but unable to be controlled with a rage, I was tossing and turning on the whole bed, desiring to see the light, in order that I would speak with you, and at the same time in order that I might be with you. But afterwards my limbs were lying tired from labor, half dead in the little bed. I made this poem for you, pleasant friend, from which you might see clearly my pain. Now beware of being bold, we beg. Beware of spurning our prayers, dearest one, lest Nemesis should exact penalties from you. She is a violent goddess. Make sure you do not offend her. Hester no licini diotiosi, multam lucimus in meis tabellis, ut convenerat esse delicatos, scribens versiculos uterque nostrum, ludebat numerorum modoc modiloc, redens mutua periocatque vinum, atque linc abii tuo lepore, incensus licini faceti isque, ut nec me miserum quibus iuaret, nec somnus tegeret quiet tocelos, sed totindomitus furore lecto, versarer cupiens videre lucem, ut te cum loquerer simocut essem, at de fesa labore membra postquam, semi mortua lectuo iacebant, hoc iucunde tibi poema feci, ex quo perspiceres meum dolorem, nunc audax cave sis precesque nostras, oramus cave despuas ocele, ne poenas nemesis reposcatate, est ve mens de alae deranc caveto.